afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'll call this October 6, 2014, meeting to order at 6 o'clock at the Justice Center. So I'll call this meeting to order. At this time, we'll ask Commissioner Strickland if he will give the invocation and we'll pledge allegiance to the flag. Please stand.
May we pray. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for many blessings you bestowed upon us. We ask that you grant in us the ability to oversee our county, to make good judgments, to keep everything on a safe and narrow basis for our citizens in this county, and look after our country, be with our leaders, bless us, protect us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item we need to approve is minutes. We have three different sections of minutes, as you see listed. September the 8th, we had a public hearing. September the 8th, we had a regular board meeting. On that date, in September the 30th, we had a work session. You've had an opportunity to look these minutes over. Do I have a motion we approve?
I have a motion that we approve the minutes as read.
Commissioner Strickland makes a motion that the minutes be approved as written. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Jakes. Second that motion. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by your voting sign. 5-0 approval for the minutes. At this time, we're going to look at the items to discuss tonight, and we always give opportunity for what we call public comments. Do we have anybody present tonight that'd like to make a public comment? Let me make one public comment. We've had 12 applicants for the new position of manager. I'll ask the commissioners if they will start sifting through those 12 in the office there and start the process of going through the applicants and seeing if we have someone that we can pinpoint that we'd like to move forward with. So within the next week, if the commissioners would do that, we appreciate that very much. And of course, it's still open. If we have anybody to come in, then we can also view that particular applicant at that time. Let's move into the 4-H outstanding organization for our county, and we certainly appreciate it. Raymond, you want to?
Ms. Auger's handling this. I'm here for support.
Okay, Ms. Auger.
This week is National 4-H Week, October the 5th through the 11th, and we do have some activities planned during the week for the students in Franklin County for ages 9 through 19, as well as not only public school students, but also homeschool students. And we do have a proclamation for you, like we had last year, poster size, and the official one for Mr. Bridges to sign. And we've also asked that we have a picture of our students with you guys.
Well, we'll go down front, commissioners, of this picture, and appreciate the thing here. We'll sign the proclamation. I believe I've already heard some news on the radio about 4-H week.
You have, and it will also be in the paper this week as well.
National 4-H week. See that? Stuart, why don't y'all get in front of us? Right in front of us.
Any cover you provide, greatly appreciate it. Definitely enhance the photo.
You need to get in here too, so.
Surely I got one that you can see.
Thank y'all.
boys, we certainly appreciate what good work you do with boys and girls, and opportunity to participate in Boys Week. Any discussions, Commissioner?
No, just like to commend everything that you do.
I think we all echo the sentiments of our chairman.
Thank you very much. We'll move to the next item on our list tonight is planning commission items. We had two hearings today. Previously to this, we had a public hearing on conditional use permit for True Fellowship. Do I have a motion that we approve this permit?
Make a motion that we approve this permit.
Thank you.
Planning Commission done a great job with it.
Thank you, Commissioner Franklin. Second by Commissioner Strickland. Any discussion? All in favor, vote sign, please. 5-0 vote for approval. Next item on the hearing item today was a road change, changing the portion of Whitlow Road. You have that information in your package there, Commissioner. Do I hear that we approve the changing of the name of Whitlow Road? Commissioner Strickland makes a motion that we make the name change there on Whitlow Road.
I'll second per staff's request.
Thank you very much. Commissioner James makes a second on that item. So a portion of Whitlow Road is being changed over to North Whitlow Road. And I have a motion and a second that we do that. Any additional discussion? All in favor, signify with your vote sign. 5-0 vote to proceed with that road change. Next on our item is short-term work program. We discussed this at length with our manager at a work session last week. Mr. Phillips, would you re-emphasize that plan, please?
Yes, sir. Be glad to, Mr. Chairman. As you know, it's time to update our Franklin County Joint Comprehensive Plan. This will be our 5-year update, which basically consists of updating our work plan. As a part of that, you have before you a proposed list for our short-term work program. As stated at a work session, one of the main benefits of having these projects included as part of this is when we're seeking grant funding, the fact that it's been incorporated into the comprehensive plan helps us as far as obtaining grant funds. Basically, the list that you have there is an update of our current short-term work program with 3 projects added at the end of the list, which include the jail expansion, improvements to the radio communication system, and expansion of natural gas throughout the county. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Pretty self-explanatory.
I think so.
It looks like a good plan put together here for us to work towards. The way I see things, if you don't have a plan, you don't know where you're going. So
It's also extremely beneficial when we're applying for grant funding, et cetera.
It'll also be great with our I-85 corridor bringing in industry to help relieve the property tax on our citizens.
John, do we have additional copies we can provide the media, maybe anybody else that's in attendance?
I think the media actually has copies
Okay,
that were sent
that's-
with their packets, and I don't know that we have additional copies, but I'll be glad to share the information or provide copies
Well, I've got
later
an
in the week.
electronic copy, I'd like to leave mine here, just in case
Okay.
anybody would like to look at it. I think this is very informative.
I'm going to ask for a motion that we move forward with this short-term work program plan. Do I have a motion? Commissioner Strickland has that motion. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Jake seconds that motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, signify by your voting signal, please. We have a 5-0 vote for the, move forward with that planning program. Next on our list tonight is the employee's handbook. We've been working on this considerable length of time, and we really appreciate our county clerk, Elaine, working diligently on this. We passed it out to all the employees, asked the department heads to look at it closely. In our work session, we talked about it and so forth. We actually had not really undertaken this endeavor for quite a few years now. It pretty well was the same framework since approximately 2001, 2002. So therefore, it was desperate need to make sure that we was compliant with all the federal and state regulations. Do I have a motion that we adopt the handbook?
Based on review, I will make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Jay.
I'll second.
And we have a second by Commissioner Strickland that we adopt the handbook that we have undertaken.
Just since we
Any
have a second,
discussion?
great. Just want to confirm that all the constitutional officers and everybody else had an opportunity to respond back with comments. Those were given due consideration, and this is what I have the final draft. Okay.
And I'd like to also state to make sure that we get each employee to sign off, saying they received, they have a copy, and that they understand, so if something comes up in the future, they can't say, well, I didn't, and that way we can say, well, is this your signature?
I concur, and all new hires should have a copy of this. It should be posted electronically on our website for county employees, the public.
Any other
Mr.
discussion?
Chair,
Sir?
we did not sign, we've not signed off on it. I have read it, but my employees are not gonna go on, they go under, the sheriff's office.
Okay. Any other discussion?
I don't either. I mean, nobody's requested anything from us, so.
Okay. All the commissioners that's willing to adopt a handbook,
I
please
can't
signify
open
by
it.
voting sign.
Nobody has requested anything.
Open.
Do we have more constitutional officers that would like to have input into the handbook, or have y'all, I mean,
Nobody's asked us anything. Lane said she'd send it, but what she sends, I can't, our email doesn't work. The county email, we can't open anything that y'all send us. I can't open it.
This is going to be a government document.
I-
I'm very hesitant
I
in
think we
moving forward.
should, yeah. I was assuming that all constitutional
That's why I asked.
officers had reviewed it, and
Well,
because we wanted input, with our
it's
constitutional
not the
officers.
commission's fault. We basically made it available. So if we adopt this tonight, we can always, if you discover something as a constitutional officer or something else, we can always amend it. But if we adopt it tonight, that would be the handbook that we're formed by. We can't keep delaying a situation.
Just clarification from the sheriff, did you read it and basically are just making a decision to not incorporate your employees under the policy, or are there specific
Yes,
guidelines?
you're correct, the
that-
first statement was right, yeah, we're not, the sheriff's, my employees belong, or my employees, and that's the way it's been, and that's the way it's set up, I understand.
So basically,
We
you read,
come-
you're just opting out?
Yes, that's right. And y'all, we, under the county for us, insurance, stuff like this, but I have my own policies that, for my department, my officers.
Can I ask, is there anything that would conflict with what you have seen here?
I didn't say that, all I said was we're opting out of it, for my employee, for his assignment, okay?
I think this would be a great discussion if we put this on our work session for this coming month. And hopefully we can have a little more communication with the sheriff's office. And when we adopt the handbook, we feel like it is for the county employees. I feel like the sheriff's department is county employees. So if we adopt it tonight, then we will have a discussion, a work session concerning the handbook.
have you heard from all constitutional officers in regarding the handbook? But Missy said that she hadn't received.
She says she's emailing it, but I can't open email, my personal email at work. And I don't think I was able to open whatever you sent me. I know the county email we no longer have. We've never been able to open county email. If you send an attachment on the county email, it's useless because we can't open it. John set us up, months and months ago, but we've never been able to open anything. And I don't look at every email I get because on my personal email, because
Is that
it's my
why
personal
you're
email.
opting out, or?
We've never signed anything.
Okay, so actually, I don't imagine we can mandate that we have a signature, but basically, I feel like we've had an opportunity to get and convey the message.
I've never seen one, so.
And we can always go back and amend or change things if it's in contrary with the employee in the county that we find that's not sufficient. Now, we've had a motion and a second to move forward with the handbook that we've been working on some time now. I forget how long, about what, 19?
Almost a year.
I'm gonna ask for a vote. All in favor of adopting the employee's handbook, raise your right hand.
I'm willing to move forward, in particular since you have stated that we will bring this up and there will be further discussion in our work session.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
We have a 5-0 vote for the employee's handbook, and we'll, Ms. Phillips, if you'll put that on our work session in order that we can iron out some of these wrinkles and so forth. Next item we have is Commissioner Health Insurance. We've had this advertised now for 3 or 4 weeks in the paper. The Commissioner has had opportunity to take input from the citizens. Do I have a motion that we move forward with Commissioner Health Insurance?
I make a motion that we move forward with the optional insurance for commissioners and have it go into effect the first of the year, January 2015.
2015. I have a motion that Commissioners has the option to opt in on the county insurance starting in 2015. Do we have a second?
I second.
Commissioner Franklin seconds the motion. Let's open up for discussion. We have had some debate with this discussion before, so I want to open up for discussion. Anybody want to talk?
We've discussed this in depth and in detail, and we had, absolutely, we did advertise to the public since this was denoted as a gratuity for the Board of Commissioners, and the public feedback that I have gotten has been overwhelming in favor of the county taxpayers not paying for us as Board of Commission members and part-time employees of the county paying for our health insurance. I would implore my colleagues to rescind this motion. It is our task as a board and a governing body to address issues that impact the county as a whole, and there should never be a time when we are sitting up here taking actions that impact us affirmatively or benefit us exclusively, and not the general taxpaying citizen.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do I have any other discussion?
Well, I've stated before, this motion is against our own policy. With our old handbook, it's against our old policy with our new handbook that we just voted on. States that we do not provide insurance for part-time employees. Now we're taking a vote saying, well, as commissioners, we are part-time employees by the
Legislation that created this body.
yes, by the Georgia legislature.
Excuse me, go ahead, Commissioner.
And so we're immediately after adopting a new handbook, violating that handbook. It is the most self-serving vote I've been a part of on this board. Got a lot of feedback from county citizens, and not one said it was a good idea. Not one. We make decisions that impact a lot of people. We have done a lot of cutting because we are in the worst recession that we've seen in our lifetime. People has had to make adjustments. We've cut sheriff departments, we've cut clerk departments, we've cut every department, and now we're doing this. So I'm sure it will pass, but I just felt the need to say I think that we should listen to the citizens. I'm disappointed that we didn't have a public hearing on it, in which we first stated that we would, but apparently we don't have to, so we're not. But I wished we had not only advertised, but had a public hearing on that.
Thank you, Commissioner Harper, we appreciate that. When you put 5 people together making decisions, naturally, as you saw previously, was 5-0 votes in favor. There are going to be some times that comes about where we have split votes on certain decisions. And this has really brought me to analyze this situation closely, because knowing the 2 commissioners to my right is going to talk against it, knowing my 2 commissioners to my left is going to talk for it. So the proper thing for me to do is break the tie. And let me just reemphasize a few things to you, what brought me to my decision tonight. Up until 2011, the commissioners in Franklin County had the option to opt in for the insurance or not take the insurance. In 2011, there was a vote taken in June of 2011 to eliminate that option for commissioners. And the motion was made to eliminate it at the end of their terms, when the terms finished. At that time, we had 1 commissioner that still take it, or opted in to take it. Now, I also went to the state and checked with the ACCG and see how other counties did the health insurance. I found very, very few all across the state that did not give their commissions option to opt in. Now, saying that is, this is not self-serving for Thomas Bridges, because Thomas Bridges is not going to opt in to take the insurance. So I'm neutral on that decision, and I would not be making it self-serving. I also checked with the city of Royston and the city of Livonia, and I discovered that the elected officials at those 2 cities give their council members the option to opt into the insurance program as elected officials. I checked with the Board of Education, who has the governing body of the Board of Education. Members have the option to take health insurance. So, saying that is, the health insurance that we have, it's been mentioned that the handbook, we're going against the handbook. Now, that is for a person's interpretation. I've read it frontwards, backwards, and every way I could read it, and I could not find that it would eliminate the constitutional, the elected officials from the standpoint of being the governing body of the county. I would say that elected official answers to the public. If the public feels like elected official should not opt in, and if he does opt in, then they have the authority to vote that individual out of office. When you have a $14 million plus budget, therefore, huge responsibility. And I've heard it mentioned several times that we are part-time people. Thomas Bridges is not a part-time commissioner. I consider myself 24/7. I'm on call, and I can show you my agenda where I used about 4 full days last week. I can show you my agenda where I will be using 5 days of time this week. Therefore, I consider myself a 24/7 on call at any time. Now that's up for interpretation. And I'll re-emphasize again that I'm not going to opt into the insurance program, so therefore I am not voting for something other that's on benefit Thomas Bridges. But I got to thinking, we might have a business person out in the county that would love to have, if they in business for themselves, would like to have the option to opt into the county insurance. They may step forward and run for the office. We might draw some real intelligent candidates in the future to run for the office. So saying all that is, I'm going to call for a vote. All in favor, signify by raising your signal. We have 3 people voting to have the opt-in in 2015 for the commissioner. All opposed. We have 2 opposed. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda
Mr. Chair.
is Atchison Bridge Road.
Mr. Chair, since we have voted in the insurance, would it be proper to amend the budget so that we can allow for the insurance when it takes place? I think that between now and the end of the year, we should amend that budget. That's the proper thing. That's the legal thing.
I think at a time when we have, after you go out and drop your insurance, Commissioner Harper, since you're going out of office in, I think it certainly would be official to, if we have anybody to choose to opt in 2015, that would be a good appropriate action. But I don't think we need to amend because we don't know the status that's going to be taking place. Now, it's moved to Atchison Ridge Road. We discussed this road at length the other night, and I was pleased to see that we are moving forward to looking at maybe pave some roads. And we got quite a few roads out there that needs paving. And let me re-emphasize that Mr. Phillips has put together things about the road there. Mr. Phillips, do you want to discuss that? Okay. Before we make a motion, you want Commissioner James?
Either way, I'll be glad to present sort of a summary of findings, if that's
That would be
helpful.
helpful to us, and then let's move forward.
Per the request, staff and I did take a look at the section of Atkinson Bridge Road, really from State Route 145, State Route 51, down to approximately 900 feet before the one-lane bridge that's there on Atkinson Bridge Road. As you know, this is a gravel section of roadway, and we were looking really at ways we could improve that as far as surfacing the roadway. I think all of us agree it would be a good project. We'd like to see it take place. What I've done is tried to take a look. We had talked about getting an 18-foot paved width, which basically would consist of 2 9-foot travel lanes. The road varies quite a bit as far as the existing roadway that's there. There are portions of the road that would be pretty simple for us to get those 2 9-foot lanes. There are portions of the roadway that we would have to do some grading work in order to get the 2 9-foot lanes. But and trying to not bore you with too many details, but the cheapest way that I could come up with would be to put some level of graded aggregate base there on the roadway, and then do a surface treatment on top of that as far as the surfacing. It's a little difficult at this point to get a good figure or a good grasp on exactly what the grading work may cost us, but my best estimate at this point as far as doing that portion of roadway would be around $143,000.
Thank you, Mr. Phillips. Do I have a motion that, Mr. Jakes, you'll make a motion that we take some action?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, I think that'd be definitely appropriate at this time following our work session. I would make the motion that we move forward with a project to put a surface treatment application on Atkinson Bridge, beginning at State Route 145, extending to a point 900 feet east of the existing single-lane bridge. I want this motion to be predicated on the fact that this would be built exclusively with SPLOST funds that are designated for road improvements. We've asked our county manager to assess to make sure that by expending the capital outlay on this project, we're not putting ourselves in a position where we cannot leverage other state or federal funds, and also predicated on the ability to garner the required easements and/or right-of-way necessary for construction purposes. Another caveat is, I know the residents are also looking at water. We have water on 145, and on the other side of Atkinson Bridge Road, we already have water coming off Harrison Bridge down to the adjacent church. So I would want there to be coordination between those two aspects. But my motion tonight is that we move forward with this project, and I want to give the latitude to staff. We can bid the project with a contractor doing the additional grading work required to achieve the 18-foot pavement widths, or when we get the bid back, if it's something that county staff can do, has the time and availability, that we can look at it in both manners following receipt of the bid. So I'm sorry to expand that, but I am making the motion that we move forward with that project, but I felt compelled to put those contingencies in there as part of my motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Jakes. You've heard Commissioner Jakes. It is a project that we need to move forward to, but we need to move with caution as the conditions that you laid out in the motion there. Do I have a second?
I'd second that, Mr. Commissioner.
Commissioner Harper seconds that motion. Any discussion?
I just think in moving forward, this will be a significant safety improvement. It will help with drainage, and will give the citizens in that area who have endured dust and a gravel road for, I know, 50-something years, a much better riding and traveling surface.
Do you have a time that you think that it's not getting started?
I would want it to get started, if possible. I would like to see the contract actually let sometime next February or March, because we're getting into seasonal limitations, and basically give whatever time frame that John would deem appropriate, whether it's 3 months or 6 months. I know the longer that you give, the better price you're going to be as far as a contractor and their scheduling. But I would, defer to John. But there are seasonal limitations with the surface treatment. My anticipation would be that the project would be completed sometime next year.
How long is that road over there, John?
The total length of the roadway that we're looking at doing is about
5,860 feet.
5,860 feet.
Any other discussion? All in favor, vote and sign, please. 5-0 vote that we move forward with that project. Now let's talk about Benton Drive. We talked about this, Benton Drive. There's another road taken on it, and it's a county road, and we have provision for certain roads to come aboard and be a county road. Do I have a motion that if they meet the requirements from ditch to ditch, giving us the right of way, Do I have a motion that we move forward with Benton Drive?
I would make that motion, Mr. Chairman, and, you know, per our previous conversation, there are 9 parcels that front Benton Road, and the request is that the county just provide ditch-to-ditch maintenance, so all that's gonna be required is just an easement, since the actual properties go to the center line of Benton Road, and also at the ending terminus of Benton Road, we're gonna need enough of an easement for our vehicles and equipment to be able to turn around. But contingent on the acquisition of the appropriate easements, including the, what I'm gonna call the cul-de-sac, I would make a motion that we accept maintenance as per our road policy and as we have in similar scenarios.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs. You've heard the motion, do I have a second?
I second that, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner Harper. Seconds the motion to treat this just like we have previous approvals, provided we received all those right-of-ways, et cetera. All in favor, say
We have a
aye.
discussion, I just want to ask one question. Should we then basically get with maybe the city of Cannon, since it is right there, and they've got another road that's inside the city limits on the other side of the flat, see if we might work out something since they're there?
David, I have no problem with doing something that would be advantageous to both parties. I just wouldn't want to basically convolute this motion
No, I was
with
just going
that.
to say if we could see about doing it.
I mean,
I think that would be a good approach, after, if it does come county road, to look at that option.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
but just for clarification, it wouldn't become a county road per se. It would just be that we would maintain it from ditch to ditch. Correct.
From ditch to ditch, maintain it. That's correct. All right. Please signify if you're in favor of that by raising your vote sign. We have a 5-0 vote that we will move forward with that. Next item is the jail expansion. We talked lengthily the other night at the work session about jail expansion. And ever since I've been commissioner, we've looked at options to try to move forward with the jail expansion. So we're going to discuss it a little bit further tonight, looking at options, and we've explored different options. We've asked our county manager to put together some scenarios that we can look at to make sure that we get started on the jail expansion. Any discussion about the jail expansion?
I just think if what we talked about in our work session where we come in and we're able to do a portion of it now would allow us to take the load off of having to house out inmates. And in doing so with that, if we have to come in and borrow, I looked at the numbers, about 500 if possible, maybe the most, maybe 600,000, then with what our note would cost us is basically just a little more than we've been averaging out over the last 8 years. So, and then at that point, we would probably have maybe 10 or 15 beds left over that we could have inmates from Elbert County or Hart County to help offset our costs as a possibility.
So between now and our work session coming up in the month, we need to look at all the options and explore all the options. And we have some options already on the table to look at. I think Commissioner Jacobs, you have mentioned some scenario.
Very similar,
Very similar.
and basically mirrors what Commissioner Strickland stated. I think the plan and design that we currently have with the 4-pod scenario could be easily reduced into a 2-pod scenario. I know that the initial conceptual estimate for that would have been about $2.5 million. When you break that down into the contingency, the utilities, the site preparation, and when you reduce the scope of work, I think that you're gonna find that you're looking at, and I'm more familiar with linear construction than vertical, I do want to clearly state that, but I think that you're probably gonna be looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.3, maybe 1.4 million dollars. We have $870,000 of money that is specifically designated for jail construction. I have spoken with the sheriff, they're more than willing to look and see within their budget, within other revenue sources they have. This is a top priority with them for the safety of their employees, for, to make sure that we're all in compliant. They're willing to assist. I would also concur with Commissioner Strickland, based on the numbers that I'm now seeing with what is causing us to house out these inmates. I think we could borrow the differential. I think we need to set a cap, but move forward with putting this out to bids. And unless we're really surprised and get bids much higher, then we look at other scenarios. I like the design bid build scenario, and I also like the reconfiguration of the existing floor plan, reducing it down to 2 pods. But I think it would behoove the commissioners to establish a cap on what we can spend, and basically direct the county manager, sheriff, and other staff to move forward with putting this out to bids. Even once we we decide on a plan, put it out to bids, and then we don't have to accept the bids if they come over, but we do need to move forward at this juncture with construction.
Once we get the design down, so each one of us can study it and look at it in detail at a work session, it may be appropriate for us to approve, to give the green light to put it out to bid in our next session. Provided all of us are pleased with what we know that we're going to put out a bid. And there might be some option in there about using the county forces to keep down the cost.
Site preparation.
I think we could use a very similar approach as Commissioner Jakes mentioned on our road project. I think we could bid that inclusive, and then, of course, we could have the option, if we decided it was a better option for us to do that with our forces, we could delete that portion of the contract and do some of that work with our own staff.
Whatever gives us for those.
Go ahead and put it out. What's the hold up, keep us from going ahead and putting it out?
Do we know exactly, in your mind, Commissioner, exactly what we're putting out for bid?
What Jeff and David were talking about.
I would be
Then be a
very
little more
hesitant.
too.
I'm willing to move forward, but I do want to finalize the design, so everybody here is looking at it.
The longer we wait, the more it's gonna cost.
Well, that's a good point, but if we jump too quick, it might cost us even more in the long run. So, putting it out there and a lengthy discussion coming up at our work session and then taking action in 1 month, that would give us a whole month here to look at these.
Yeah, I think, I'm gonna ask the sheriff, the floor plan that we had for the 4-pod expansion being reduced in half, it is very conducive to being able to reduce the scope down to 2, and then at such time in years to come, you could go back and add the additional 2. Does that design and floor plan, I mean, would you feel comfortable with that? For the safety of your employees, being able to, I guess what you would state, being able to work the inmates and arrange the inmates, is that suitable with you?
The 2 pods would help us a lot.
Okay, but the layout of the existing plans that we have by just basically cutting it in half, does that scenario work? Is that feasible from a safety standpoint itself?
I can tell you the discussions that we're having right now is that we can reduce it down to the 2 pod and do it in phases. The right side of the building being done first, phase 1. The left side of the building closest to the road, phase 2, including the rec yard, and then phase 3 would be that final pod. And the question I had was, would we be able to block it off so we could go and function? And the answer was yes. But this is all preliminary at this point. There's nothing been set in stone. I've been talking to a couple of people, and I don't think that we're ready at this point to move, but having the same proposed jail that we have now, just doing it in phases is feasible, that we can do it. but it's a matter of nailing it down, how we're gonna do it, and make sure that it's right.
Agreed.
So again, it's back to the same thing before, moving forward, cautious, step by step, keeping everybody informed of what we're doing, and do it smartly. Don't rush into it.
Any other discussion about the jail? If our manager would make sure that we get with the sheriff's department, and any commissioners like to have input, please do that with our manager. And then let's all have a picture of what we're shooting for at our work session, so we can finalize this and move forward.
All I would say is we just wanna make sure we got like that 850 or whatever that is, and no more spent out of that.
870 is the current total for the record.
Well, we don't want it to go south of that number.
That's 870 plus the money you're talking about adding to it.
That's
Right,
correct.
but we don't wanna have 750 for 800 and have to add to it. We
From
wanna stay-
776, 724 in the jail fund, and 98,277 in the old jail swash. That's to the penny.
And then you'll have your revenues that are coming in month by month from the court system. It will
Add
add
to.
to that. It should actually increase
That'd be
over
good.
time.
That's correct. Any other discussion?
And the decrease in the capital expenditures, once that it's open from not housing out, which looking over the last couple of months is substantial.
I can give the board an update because I know how concerned you are about it. I just received 3 bills today, 2 from Stevens County, 1 from Jackson, and the total housing was 22,600, I believe.
Okay. What is the duration of that? Is
That is 2 months from Stevens County, August, September, and 1 month from Jackson County.
Okay, so the 22,000 was inclusive of the 2 months in Stevens and 1 month in Jackson.
Yes, we're pretty much staying like right in the budget area that we talked about of 14, 15,000 a month.
Does any of those people ever get out or get off or?
Yeah.
And we have some more to go right back in.
One goes out, 3 more come back. That's what it is.
We don't like that
2
game.
steps forward, 3 steps back, okay.
We just had 4 weeks of court, so you know, that's where we're at now.
We're fixing to have an arraignment calendar that's got 219 on it.
Yes.
Well,
They just
certainly I
sent
think,
another one to prison today that I'll be getting a week from today. So it constantly changes. If you watch your counts, you know, from Friday to when I sent you one
Yeah, it's all
today.
114 or whatever.
Right, it just, and then we have to fight and work through court to get everybody in and handle it.
You're just looking at a tentative schedule, and I know that's gonna be contingent on finalizing a design. To move it into the fall and winter months, we can finalize the design and the administrative component in the bidding, and then potentially be ready to break ground, you know, early spring. And just depending on the amount of time that we want to give the contractor, I think it's realistic to anticipate that by the end of next year or the beginning of the next year, that you'd be open for business. You know, we don't have the vacancy sign on, we don't want the business, but
That lady, last time we stopped one with that meth lab, she said, I'm looking for a red light. I said, full stop. They ain't here.
you know,
well, this is one business that I don't think we're going to go under with. I think we're certainly going to have this business around constantly.
one thing I want to, at our last meeting, y'all had brought up additional revenues that we were not aware of as far as social security, et cetera. I've got my revenue sheets, and I do not see that listed, so if there are, and I'll let everybody else, my colleagues here, there is no revenue as previously stated, so I think that definitely needs to be
That's-
added.
I talked to Lane just before the meeting, and she was talking to the auditors, I guess,
Mhm.
and they do have a spot they're going to place that in, so we
Okay.
should be seeing it.
Okay.
So again,
Good.
we're working together with it, so
Good. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
keep going.
Okay. We'll address this issue at our work session during the month of October, at the end of the month. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
One other item before we adjourn, if that would be appropriate, Mr. Chairman. It's not an agenda type item, but the only thing I would,
Discussion?
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I would just ask that we look forward sometime in November or December to having a line item on our work session, which would be a full review of our finances for this year, based on what our projected budget was with revenue and expenditures, that we sit down, have all of our documentation, and look at where we are and evaluate where we are with our projected revenue, projected expenditure, so we'll all have a really good grasp of where we are. And I would just like for us to look at that maybe, this month's work session, possibly November's work session, no later than the December planning meeting. But I think, yes, sir.
Appreciate that statement. Any other statement?
Is there any way we can get a look at those 12 that you were talking about? So by the time we have the work session, we'll have that on there to see if we can't get some type of narrow down or whatever. If the commissioners can go by and look at, to get a little bit of a jump. Instead of having to wait, we'll be a little bit ahead instead of having to look at them the last of this month.
What you,
So,
send your
You got
box.
a box today.
So for the resumes for those
Oh,
12. No, I'm not talking about that.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I was talking about where we could look at the potential
applicants.
applicants.
Oh, yeah, potential applicants for the county.
So we could have for the work session, they already have maybe broken down
Okay.
to look
Well,
at.
that's what I asked at the beginning, that we go ahead and proceed with each commissioner going by the office. And for confidentiality, I prefer that we do it in the office and look independently and then break down the ones that you think come to the forefront. In the meantime, the job is still open for any applicants that may not be present now.
Because I think it's going in, is this the last week it was in the paper, Shane? Or is it going?
Still on the GOG thing.
Oh, okay.
We got it. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Jakes.
Second.
Second. All in favor?